What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Burrow77 here to talk to you about some Club World Cup action happening today, June 23rd at 3 p.m. In a very bettable matchup, we have Atleti taking on Botafogo. As we all know, Atleti is a La Liga club and Botafogo is from Brazilian Serie A. A couple of things I want to talk about before we get into the numbers and get into the bets. It's important to remember here that this is supposed to be Atleti's off-season. Players should be on holiday and resting right now, whereas this is the middle of the season for Botafogo. They are competing in Brazilian Serie A, which is on hiatus right now, along with MLS and other clubs that are involved here playing the summer schedule as opposed to the fall-winter schedule. And on top of competing in Brazil, Botafogo is also competing in Copa Libertadores. Botafogo is a serious Brazilian club. They got second in the league, I want to say 2 seasons ago. They have an owner that spends money. This is a very quality club, especially down in Brazil right now. Botafogo is currently sitting at 5-3-3 in 8th place on the Brazilian Serie A table. And they have gone 4-0-2 this year in Copa Libertadores. I mention this because I want to talk about how poor Atleti is away from the Wanda Metropolitano. If you've followed me for La Liga, you know that it's a very popular thing for me to fade Atleti, especially on the road. In La Liga this year, they went 8-6-5 away for the 24-25 season. Prior to that, in the 23-24 season, Atleti went 8-3-8 away. And in the UCL this year, they were 0-0-3 on the road. Atleti really does struggle away from home. They are listed as the home side here, but this is obviously not taking place in the Wanda Metropolitano because it's in America. So when we look at the numbers here on the big board, I definitely think there's value in Botafogo. I don't know if winning outright at plus 490 is where I'm going to go with this. I am looking pretty hard at Botafogo double chance, which is sitting at plus 125 over on DraftKings. That's the same thing as Asian handicap plus 0.5. I think the plus one here at minus 137 definitely isn't a bad number, but it appears that some movement is coming in on Botafogo, and this number probably won't stick around for too long. I'm thinking this probably moves to Botafogo plus 0.75 on the Asian handicap, and that currently is sitting at minus 105 on DraftKings. I do like that if you're okay with a half win or a half loss when it comes to the Asian handicap. So if you like plus 0.75 as opposed to the double chance, I have no ill will there. Next up, I do like the both teams to score number here, sitting at minus 115 over on Caesars. Atleti's defense hasn't been rock solid or anywhere near all season in La Liga. Oblak is definitely still holding it down between the pipes, but the midfield and backline play here, especially if you can go fast and get balls over the top like Botafogo can, then you definitely have a chance here. So both teams to score at minus 115 over on Caesars feels like a really good number. Getting into some player props I want to look at here. Igor Jesus for Botafogo, the striker. He is looking really nice for an anytime goal at plus 320 over on Caesars. Igor has scored a goal in both of his Club World Cup matches so far, playing 85 minutes and scoring against the Seattle Sounders and playing 90 minutes and scoring the only goal versus PSG. Igor is always stepping up for Botafogo when they need it most, scoring in back-to-back games here for them in Copa Libertadores as well. If you're not super familiar with South American football, then you should know Copa Libertadores is the equivalent of Champions League in South America, where the Copa Sudamericana is more like the Europa League of South America. So performing midweek in Copa Libertadores is huge. That's when the lights are brightest. That's when you want to see guys showing out like Igor has done. And that's why I like his goal, especially at plus 320. Keeping it moving, we got to talk about Atleti. Julian Alvarez is definitely very good. His anytime goal score at plus 135, I think still has value over on FanDuel. He's probably the best player on this team. Sorloth is decent. He played really well for Norway in the couple of international matches he played. Sorloth is likely going to be on the short list for a rotation for Griezmann here shortly after half. Sorloth hasn't completely locked in on this Atleti side. He performs really well against a couple of clubs, Madrid especially. I've seen, unfortunately, the wrath of Sorloth a couple of times, but he doesn't always seem to click and be major minutes getter or a full-time starter here for Atleti. So I would expect a shorter rotation to see him for Griezmann sub on pretty quickly after half, especially depending on what the scoreline is doing. I know I hate him and I talk about him for cards all the time, but Rodrigo de Paul has been shooting lately. He took 2 shots in his last Cub World Cup match and had a shot in the game before that. It is a little bit of a reach to take him for 2 shots, but I think the number is very well worth it at plus 180 over on DraftKings. DePaul very easily might only take 1 shot, or he might have no shots whatsoever, but he will shoot when needed, and he can be good with it, especially when playing for Argentina, which we saw a little bit with some international break here. I think there's value, especially at the plus 180 number over on DK. Again, I kind of hate the guy, but value's value. This is sitting at like plus 105, plus 110 on a lot of other sports books, and his single shot was very much priced outside of my playable range at like minus 260 on DraftKings, but minus 480 and longer at some other shops. So that's where I'm getting the value on RDP to take a couple of shots here. The next thing I want to talk about is Savarino here for Botafogo playing on the left wing. I like his shot on target at plus 130 over on Caesars. He's had an assist in the Club World Cup, and he's made an impact in Copa Libertadores this season as well. He can feed, but he does like to take shots, and he does find the frame fairly often. He has a shot on target in this tournament, and he has taken a shot in both games, with only 1 game where it ended up on target. So at plus 130, I think we're getting some nice value there on Savarino over on Caesars. Last but not least, we got to talk about this ref, and we got to talk about some cards. The ref today is C.A. Ramos, a Mexican league referee. This is the guy who is in charge of Boca's versus Benfica. Ramos handed out 3 red cards, a penalty, and a couple other yellows apiece. I think that there is value here in the over 4.5 bookings sitting at minus 128 over on FanDuel. We all know Atleti's reputation for being proficient in the dark arts and the shithousery that is, especially late in elimination games when it comes to football. And Botafogo comes from South America. They play Colombo football. We're getting a Liga MX ref, so the level of physicality should definitely be up here, but when you give teams like Atleti an inch, they tend to try and take a mile. So I do expect cards here. I think over 4.5 is a good look. I also think over bookings points is worth a look as well. If you are concerned that there might be a sending off or a red, that's available at like plus 190, I believe, if you're into that. So just a suggestion here. Again, we saw this ref hand out a ton of cards in Boca Juniors versus Benfica. I think we are in for another physical matchup here with Atleti versus Botafogo. So keep that in mind as you look around. I do like bookings. So that about wraps it up for me. I am going to go over what I'm betting on. I'm looking at Botafogo double chance / Asian handicap plus 0.75. The double chance is plus 125 on DK. The Asian handicap is minus 105 over on DK. I do like the both teams to score at minus 115 on Caesars. Igor Jesus of Botafogo to score a goal at plus 320 on Caesars. Savarino of Botafogo to take a shot at plus 130 on Caesars. Julian Alvarez of Atleti to get a goal at plus 135 on FanDuel, as well as over 4.5 cards for the game at minus 126 on FanDuel. Those are my early leans. As always, lineups drop 60 minutes before match time, and I will finalize my bets then. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe right here at youtube.com/@Burrow772. It costs you guys absolutely nothing, and it goes a long way to helping me bring you more and more of this free content. If you would like to support further, please check out the Discord. I am running a summer promo where it's just $5 a month. The link for that is down below in the video description, as well as finding my Twitter, Instagram, any other social media, where you can find me on 2FootTalk every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, along with my boy A Young Leg and all that other good stuff. So check below for links in the video description for the Discord and anything else. Until then, I always look forward to seeing you at the window. And until next time, Oaks out. Doses. We outside.